When it comes to firearms, reliability is everything. And over the years, I've handled enough pistols to know which ones inspire confidence and which ones leave me questioning their design. Some guns look great on paper but fail miserably in real-world use, while others are plagued by poor craftsmanship, questionable ergonomics, or downright dangerous malfunctions. In this review, I've compiled a list of the top 10 pistols you should never trust in 2025 based on personal experience, extensive testing, and countless reports from frustrated shooters. Don't miss out. The Kel-Tec P11 is one of those guns that seems like a good idea. You know, it's compact, lightweight, and chambered in 9mm, but the moment you pick it up, you realize something is off. The trigger pull is absurdly long and heavy, making precise shots nearly impossible unless you've got the grip strength of a powerlifter. The recoil is snappy to the point of being unpleasant, and the thin grip offers little in the way of comfort or control. I've had multiple failures to eject with this gun, and the double-stacked magazine feels like it was designed by someone who had never actually held a pistol before. The P11 might be cheap, but it's a perfect example of getting what you pay. Again, the recoil is harsh and snappy, exacerbated by the gun's minimal weight and poor ergonomics. The thin, blocky grip offers no purchase, causing the pistol to shift in your hand with every shot. I've experienced multiple failures to eject, with spent casings getting caught in the slide or bouncing unpredictably off the shooter next to me. The magazine release is stiff and awkwardly placed, making reloads a chore rather than a smooth transition. What's worse is the gun's tendency to develop reliability issues after minimal use. The feed ramp can become misaligned, leading to constant jams, and the striker mechanism has been known to fail without warning. Kel-Tec markets the P11 as a budget-friendly option, but when your lifespan could depend on it, budget-friendly shouldn't mean untrustworthy. Taurus has made strides in recent years, but the G3C still falls short in ways that matter. On the surface, it's an affordable, compact 9mm with decent capacity, but dig a little deeper and the flaws become glaring. The trigger has a gritty, inconsistent break that makes follow-up shots a guessing game, and the slide has a tendency to stick when you least expect it. I've also noticed uneven wear on the internals after just a few hundred rounds, which doesn't bode well for long-term durability. While it's not the worst gun on this list, the G3C is just unreliable enough that I wouldn't bet my life on it, especially when there are far better options in the same price range. The slide is another issue. While it cycles decently with full power ammunition, weaker loads frequently cause failures to feed. I've also noticed that the slide lock doesn't always engage when the magazine is empty, leaving you to manually check if you're truly out of ammo, a dangerous oversight in a defensive situation. The grip texture is overly aggressive to the point where extended shooting sessions leave your hands raw. Internally, the G3C shows signs of premature wear. After just 500 rounds, I noticed unusual metal shavings in the action, suggesting poor quality materials or insufficient hardening. Taurus offers a warranty, but that's little consolation when the gun fails at a critical moment. If you're looking for an affordable compact 9mm, there are far better options out there, and the G3C isn't one of them. The Desert Eagle is the quintessential cool gun that everyone wants to shoot until they actually do. Chambered in 50 AE, it's a monstrous handgun. It's a heavy, unwieldy, and absurdly expensive range toy with more downsides than advantages. The first thing you'll notice is the weight. Unloaded, the Desert Eagle tips the scales at over 4 pounds, making it one of the heaviest production pistols in existence. The recoil, despite the gun's mass, is punishing. Unless you have wrists of steel, rapid follow-up shots are out of the question. And then there's the reliability issue. The Desert Eagle's gas-operated system is notoriously finicky with ammunition. If you don't use high-quality, perfectly spec'd rounds, you'll experience frequent jams. I've seen cases where the gun fails to cycle properly, leaving the shooter to manually clear a stuck case mid-string. And let's talk about cost. 50 AE ammunition is prohibitively expensive, often costing $2 or more per round. That means every mag dump feels like burning cash. The Desert Eagle is fun for exactly one range trip. After that, the novelty wears off and you're left with an impractical, unreliable, and overly expensive handgun that serves no real purpose. The Taurus P22 is a pocket-sized 22 LR pistol that should be a fun plinker or backup gun, but in reality, it's a frustrating mess. The first red flag is the blowback operation, which is notoriously unreliable in this design. I've had countless failures to feed and eject, with rounds getting stuck at odd angles or failing to ignite due to weak strikes. The manual safety is another disaster. It's small, stiff, and awkwardly placed, making it difficult to disengage quickly. Worse yet, I've had the safety engage itself under recoil, which is an unforgivable flaw in a defensive firearm. The sights are minuscule and nearly useless, and the grip is so small that shooters with larger hands will struggle to maintain control. The PT22 has a habit of ejecting spent casing straight back into my face, which is both annoying and potentially dangerous. Taurus markets this as a deep concealment gun, but if it can't cycle reliably or stay safe when firing, it's just worse than useless. The Remington R51 was supposed to be a sleek, innovative 9mm with retro styling, but instead, it became one of the most infamous handgun flops of the decade. The grip safety is one of its biggest failures. Unlike the 1911 smooth, reliable design, the R51's safety is stiff and inconsistent, often failing to disengage fully unless you have an absolutely perfect grip. The trigger is another nightmare. It's mushy with a long take-up and an unpredictable break. The reset is nearly non-existent, making rapid fire a guessing game. I've also experienced multiple failures to return to battery where the slide stops just short of fully closing, requiring a manual nudge to continue firing. Recoil is a bone to the neck. Despite being a 9mm, the R51 kicks harder than it should, likely due to its awkward bore axis and lightweight frame. The ergonomics are strange, with a grip angle that feels unnatural, and the overall build quality screams rushed production. Remington eventually released a Gen 2 version to fix some of these issues, but by then, the damage was done. The R51 is a gun that should have never left the prototype phase. The SCCY CPX2 is often marketed as an ultra-affordable 9mm, but affordable shouldn't mean unreliable. The double-action only trigger is one of the worst I've ever used. It's long, heavy, and stacking tension unpredictably. Rapid fire is nearly impossible because the trigger reset is vague and inconsistent. The major issue is the recoil. The CPX2 is a small, lightweight pistol, but the recoil is disproportionately harsh, making follow-up shots slow and inaccurate. I've also experienced frequent stovepipe jams and failure to feed malfunctions, especially with hollow point ammunition. The build quality is questionable at best. The slide reset is flimsy and difficult to actuate, and the magazines don't always seat properly without a firm slap. SCCY offers a lifetime warranty, but that's cold comfort when the gun jams during a defensive situation. If you need a budget 9mm, save up a little longer and buy something better. The Hi-Point C9 is the gun people buy when they absolutely can't afford anything else, and it really shows. From the moment you pick it up, everything about this pistol feels wrong. The weight distribution is bizarre, with an overly heavy slide and an unbalanced frame that make it awkward to hold. The grip angle is unnatural, and the texture, if you can call it even that, is so slippery that maintaining control during rapid fire is nearly impossible. Then there's the trigger. A long, gritty, heavy pull that feels like dragging a brick through sand, and the reset is nearly non-existent. At the range, the C9's flaws become even more apparent. The blowback operation is crude and unreliable, frequently failing to eject spent casings properly. I've had multiple instances of stovepipe jams, failure to feed malfunctions, and even the occasional double feed that required complete disassembly to clear. The single-stack magazine is another joke. It holds just 8 rounds, which is pathetic by modern standards, and the magazine release is stiff and awkwardly placed. Reloading under stress would be a nightmare. High-point defenders often argue that it goes bang every time, but that's simply not true. And even if it did, the terrible ergonomics, abysmal accuracy, and the laughable build quality make it a gun that's more likely to get you killed than save you in a defensive situation. The Taurus Spectrum is a pistol that tries to be stylish and modern, but fails at the most basic functions of a firearm. The first thing you'll notice is that the grip texture is so aggressively rough that it feels like holding sandpaper. After just one magazine, my hand was raw and irritated. The trigger is another disaster, spongy with an inconsistent break and zero tactile reset. You never quite know when the gun is going to fire, which destroys any hope of accuracy. Reliability is where the Spectrum truly falls apart. I experienced multiple light primer strikes, failure to eject malfunctions, and even a few cases where the slide failed to lock back on any empty magazine. The 380 ACP cartridge is already borderline for self-defense, but when your gun can't even recycle it reliably, you're in serious trouble. Also, the sights are tiny, nearly invisible in low light, and impossible to align quickly. The Spectrum also has a habit of ejecting spent casings directly into my face. Taurus clearly tried to make a cool micro pistol, but they forgot to make it functional. Revolvers are supposed to be simple, reliable, and foolproof, but the Charter Arms Explorer 2 manages to fail at all 3 of those. This 22 LR revolver looks cute and compact, but the moment you try to shoot it, the problems start coming about. The cylinder doesn't always align properly with the barrel, leading to misfires and inconsistent accuracy. The trigger pull is heavy, gritty, and uneven, making precise shooting quite a chore. I also noticed excessive fouling after just a few cylinders. The gun binds up quickly if you don't clean it obsessively, which defeats the purpose of a revolver's supposed reliability. The build quality feels cheap, with a flimsy frame and rough machining marks throughout. The grip is too small for most adult hands, and the sights are rudimentary at best. If you're looking for a reliable 22 revolver, there are far better options. The Explorer 2 is a sad example of cost-cutting gone wrong. The American Arms PX22 is a 22 LR pistol that looks like a scaled-down 1911, but that's where the similarities end. The blowback operation is unreliable, often failing to cycle properly with standard ammunition, and the magazine release is awkwardly placed. I've had multiple failure to feed malfunctions, and the sights are so small that aiming is a challenge. The overall construction feels flimsy, with a slide that rattles, and a trigger that's mushy at best. It might be a cheap plinker, but it's also a frustrating one at that. There are far better 22 pistols on the market that won't leave you consistently clearing jams. The magazine release is awkwardly placed and stiff, making reloads a hassle. The trigger is mushy with no clear break. The slide feels loose and rattles when shaken, suggesting poor fit and finish. Worst of all, the PX22 has a habit of ejecting spent casings directly onto your face, a problem that gets old very quickly. If you want a 22 plinker that resembles a 1911, save up for a better option. The PX22 is a cheap imitation that can't even perform its basic function reliably. Well guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Enjoyed the review? Make sure you're subscribed and click a thumbnail to dive right back into more fascinating firearms content from us. Also, don't forget to share this video with a friend and family member and leave us a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching.